Show.
Welcome to another edition of the Tim and Jenn Show. Sitting here with my badass co-host, who happens to be my business partner, my best friend, and my better half, my amazing wife.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Jimenez Ryan. Thanks everyone for tuning in today. I'm really freaking stoked, and I said freaking instead of fucking stoked to have our guest.
But you just said fucking.
I know.
Fuck yeah, we got a killer guest today.
An amazing guest and
but we'll get there in a minute.
Friend I've known forever.
You were talking the other day about your spirit, your higher power, your God, Allah, Buddha, Fred, call it whatever you want. I absolutely believe there's something greater than me, and it's not myself out there, and unfortunately it's not you. But you know, what is our calling? What is the universe, God trying to tell me? And the other day, you had a hell of a day.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I talk a lot about that with you, about what's our greater purpose, or, you know, even day to day, like what, you know, I do a daily check-in, and there's some issues going on medically with me, but I'm like, what is God trying to say?
There's not just medical issues, honey. You've got a bunch, but that's a whole nother show. But back to what you were saying. We got up. Okay, so last Tuesday we get up, and I get up at like 5:30 that day because we had to leave early and get all done up, and then we leave and we go to Lancaster. If you're from California, ever been out here, it's like a good hour and a half drive. We go there, we spend the day there. We have to, you know, work. Had some business meetings and stuff.
Yeah, and then we come back at 3 o'clock back to LA. Get here by like almost 5. Mom has a car accident at that time. My mom lives like
an hour away.
Yeah, and with traffic, like 2 hours. So of course, Tim, it was the one time I said, Tim goes, I'll go with you. I'm like, no.
Mom was okay, but her car got towed. So you were going to her place to check on her.
And then I had some issue with my wrist. So I'm wearing a cast, and I get in the car, I drive an hour and a half, 2 hours later, I go grocery shopping for her, make sure she's fine. And it's like 9:30 at night now. And I'm like, my mom's like, you should go home. I'm like, yes. So I get in the car, and I just want to go home. It's been a long day.
It's been a long
day. And I get on, and I'm about to go into the carpool, like the fast track here. And my brand new car, tire
6 months old,
to 0. Like it starts giving, and I'm like, and I pull over. And I didn't realize I was like in the hood. And I pull over, I scream. Tim's like, I'm freaking out. Tim's like, I'm gonna get an Uber and come meet you. No Uber driver.
Well, hold on. I could not get an Uber because I had to Uber from our house to the hood.
Yeah.
And it's 10-minute wait, 20-minute, 30. Every Uber driver, nobody would pick up the ride.
So I called AAA. They're going to be here an hour. Now it's like 10, right? Or so. So the guy doesn't come for like 2 hours. So then he can't get the other guy to come, and they figured it out. And then the guy and I'm losing my mind now. And he's like, you know, I've been having a shitty time in my life. And we start talking, and I'm sitting in the car, and I'm trying to go, oh my God, and these guys are showing gang signs, you know, that are walking into the store. And I'm like, I'm going to get killed. Like they're going to beat me down. So cut to the guy come outside, and I'm like talking with the guy,
the tow truck driver.
Yeah. The tow truck driver. And he's like, yeah, my wife died in my arms at the movie theaters, and I have a 3-year-old now, and I don't, you know, this and that. And he's a stepdad, single, like trying to make ends meet. And
his wife had just died 5 months prior. They were watching a movie, and he fell asleep and woke up, and his new wife was dead.
Yeah. And
not from drugs or anything, just from natural causes.
But. And he's just sitting there, and I was like, do you want to know about my life? And I just told him all these things, you know, and I was like, it's been fucking hard. Now, you know, our emotions are the same, but our stories are different. You know, all of a sudden I just hugged him, and he starts crying. And I went, you know, what was the universe telling me that day? And,
what did he say to you?
And he said, this was the best tow I've ever done in my life. And he goes, you made me feel like someone got me and understood. And I want to thank you, because I thought no one would understand. And I got really emotional, because I think the universe was telling me that we just need to spread more love.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and understanding, and be empathetic.
And there's so many judgmental people out there today. Politics is COVID. I don't want a vaccine. I do. Whatever it is, once you actually get to know someone, spend some time, then you can make a judgment or a decision on them. But damn it, 95% of the people out there are really good people. And if they're struggling or not, what?
At the end of the day, I have to say, I believe with all my heart that we all just want to be loved.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and on that
fucking note, everybody wants to be loved. Do you want me to talk? Do you want to talk?
Go ahead. You can. I mean, I'll like chime in. Go ahead. No. I mean, like, okay, so who we're about to introduce, I have known since I was a teenager. I have seen him grow into such a remarkable and amazing and beautiful man, and a fucking talent. Like, what a talented man. He's just an incredible human being. I'm so honored to let you introduce him, but I'm also going to say in advance, I'm so sorry that if I ever you saw me naked or crazy, and I know you saw me drunk and probably super high, so I'm sorry in advance.
Don't be sorry.
I mean, not in advance, but after.
That's where you are. So coming up for a span of over 30 years, has appeared in over 70 films, television productions, in collaboration with some of the most notable talent out there. How do you pronounce this one?
God, I'll let him do it. Mahershala
Ali, we'll get to that. Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze, J.K. Simmons, Christopher Walken, Stephen Dorff, Norman Reedus, Neil Patrick Harris, just to name a few. Here's some of the recurring roles: Married with Children, Beverly Hills 90210, Picket Fences, Quantum Leap, Land's End, yada, yada, yada. What I remember him from was not Ferris Bueller's Day Off, one of the most badass, epic movies ever. This was my generation. This was my age. Live high, live fast, die fucking young. Point Break.
Yeah.
Point Break.
Who's in True Detective?
And there's so much more to talk about. Yeah. Right now, a recurring role on True Detective season 3. Detective Johnson on Fox News, TV series The Deputy, blah, blah, blah. BoJesse Christopher, welcome to the Tim and Jenn Show. How the hell are you?
Oh my God, you guys, I'm so grateful just listening to you guys talk about the things that I'm able to have accomplished leading up to this moment. It's remarkable in the sense that, we work so hard each and every day just to live, to get by. I'm so grateful to be here with the two of you and to be able to reminisce and talk all things matters of the heart.
Thank you. That is,
I love that.
Yeah.
When I moved out to Los Angeles 2.5, 3 years ago, and Jennifer, through recovery and entertainment, started introducing me to her friends. We got connected through social media. We've talked. Everyone has been fucking cool, but really caring, kind-hearted people. There's a different vibe out here in LA, Hollywood, Beverly Hills, Southern California, because I come from the Midwest, and, I saw Bill Murray when they were filming Groundhog Day, but out here you run into people a lot more that you see on television, you see in the movies, and they're just average good people that care. And you're one of them. That's what it's all about.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Believe it or not, I think each human being has the ability to speak from your heart's core and actually do the good and meaningful work in yourself and be able to go out there and touch people in that meaningful way. And LA is just one of those places where there's so much opportunity. There's so much good that can be accomplished. And I love the idea of spending time in those meaningful spaces where you can collaborate with other like-minded, like-hearted individuals and come together, and anything's possible. I love that. And I also love the juxtaposition of being able to step outside Los Angeles and contrast, the crazy busyness, eccentricness of LA with the rest of the way, the nation lives every day, just to keep yourself grounded. I'm a Northern California guy, so my roots are in Northern California. So when I moved to Southern California, one of the most important things for me was to stay as grounded as possible, to keep my sense of balance, my roots, my sense of self, because it's hard. Jen, it's hard. We get caught up, and it's fun. but we can lose sense of self and purpose and direction, to your point earlier.
Well, I think you just hit what I wanted to ask you. So people say, oh, how did you, 30 years is a long time in Hollywood. I mean, like I say to people, I try to tell people when I go speak all across or have, deep conversations with people that are not from LA is that, or in the entertainment world, right? I have worked and seen the most beautiful human beings in the world, from modeling to acting. I mean, you see them and then you don't see them, right? And like, that's the rise and fall of this in business. And I go, God, I wonder what happened to that girl, modeling, because that they got taken into the brinks of addiction like I did. But like a lot of people don't make it through. You have made it through. You're not in that, like, what made it? For me, addiction, it helped me. Hollywood didn't bring me down, but I brought myself down thinking I needed to meet that, that false reality. How have you stayed so grounded and so prominent? Because you are so talented and you're killing it, now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much I'm so grateful. I really am. Listen, the short answer to that very loaded, complex question, because that is the $1 million question. How do we stay focused, right? How do we stay healthy and happy and focused and thriving, and live with purpose and do that good and meaningful work? Listen, I'm a good guy. I always knew in my heart that I had a story to tell, and I was going to stop at nothing to figure out how I could, tell people my story, but also listen to others and come together and build on that moment to go out and see what's next. So for me, I never liked the idea that anything would get in the way of that. My fire burned so strong for the want to tell my story and to just soak up life and to meet other people and to soak up their life and have that be our moment, that anything else was just a distraction. I know that's easier said than done, but I kept that really close. And I also, quite frankly, I had a son when I was pretty young. When I was 20, I had a son through circumstance, and I raised our son. I co-parented that son from day one. So I had a kid to raise, and that was really, that anchored me, because there was no way I was not going to co-parent that child. And it took me down some winding roads and through some obstacles in front of me that could have led to some nefarious things, and certainly it hasn't all been easy, but I'm grateful because I haven't let most things distract me from, I suppose, my life's purpose, which is to find a deep, meaningful connection to myself and others.
That's powerful. And, God works in weird ways if you believe in God or whatever, but to have a kid at 20, I do want to ask you though, were you close with River Phoenix?
So I wasn't close to River, but I was very close to people that were very close to River.
So age-wise, you guys were probably around the same age at the time, right?
He was a couple months older than me, and I idolized River Phoenix. I felt I resembled him. He was a kindred spirit. When I was growing up in San Francisco and looking to graduate high school and move to Los Angeles, he was sort of that, like, if he's doing it, I feel connected to that purpose also. I can do it. And so it broke my heart when he passed, certainly.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're at a young age, you're in Hollywood, and as you're saying, somebody you looked up to has already died from a drug overdose. Was that also something that you said, I'm a father now, I'll never go down that path? And how did it affect you when you had friends that you're working with that are going down that road? I mean, were you just kind of like, I'm staying in my lane and focusing on me?
Yeah, I was kind of afraid of that kind of lifestyle, and it never really pulled at me. Alcohol was my thing. If I ever had a problem, and I should just come out and say, I feel like a lot of people have a problem. Alcohol is a pretty, I won't say common, but like most people have a problem with alcohol. Alcohol leads to terrible things, in my view, based on my experience. So for me, I think in those days, if I was going to sort of medicate, if I was going to go somewhere and try to like numb whatever was going on, I was going to turn to booze. But certainly that event with River, you know, scared me, because it showed me that someone just a few months older than me in my peer group that I idolized was gone that quickly. And I had some family members, you know, that had addiction to various different things, and it turned me off, you know, and I just and that's good, because it kept me away from it. I'll share with you just real quick, you know, my dad was a gypsy rock star, you know, lived hard, died young kind of guy. So when I was growing up in San Francisco, just a quick share, you know, it was pretty common that I would wake up, like, this is probably like I'm 4, 5, 6 years old. I'd wake up, get ready for school, and there were like, you know, there were mirrors with Coke residue and razor blades and, you know, and joints and half open beers, and people, you know, passed out in the morning, and I'm trying to get around people. So this is San Francisco, 1974, 75, 76, no excuse. But so it kind of got me thinking early on, this is not what my life looks like. And it started to cultivate purpose and vision and sense of direction. And then just hearkening back to my earlier statement, I stayed with that. I wanted to tell my story, but I stayed with that because I could see how it could really be a major distraction, unhealthy distraction, and lead to immortality, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
When I was just thinking about you having a kid at 20, and that's when you were doing Married with Children, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
You were, were you Christina's boyfriend?
I was, yeah.
I remember.
Yep.
Mary, and as I was reading, you were in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
So they did the series. It starred Charlie.
I was right.
Slaughter, yeah, and Jennifer Aniston played the Jennifer Grey role, and I played the Charlie Sheen role. Do you remember when Charlie Sheen shows up at the end of the movie, and they're in jail, and Jennifer Grey and Charlie Sheen sit together, and they kind of make a connection, and then the movie ends. So they picked that storyline back up with the series. So I played Jennifer Aniston's boyfriend, you know, this rough around the edges guy in the series.
That's
like
cool.
So you're 20 years old, and like, I mean, because when people say things to me like you were 13 and you were on the cover, and I'm like, it's art, right? But like acting, and you're walking around and you're a parent, and like you're doing this crazy ginormous show, and you're so young, and you're like, everything is coming your way. I mean, like, you're a hot Hollywood star, like, and like that whole world. Like, how did you disconnect from coming home and being a parent to going on set and working and having a great time and learning and blah blah blah?
So hard. I mean, 20 years old. So yeah, so I moved to LA when I was 17. I got a couple opportunities like Married with Children, Point Break. That happened before I had my son, but so I was able, but just a couple years. But I mean, so by the time Jesse, my oldest son, my son at that time, came into play here, it was really hard. I mean, it was like I was 20 years old. I had done Point Break. I had all these opportunities in front of me. I was auditioning for everything, meeting every filmmaker, had every opportunity afforded to me, testing for shows, getting some guest stars, doing the thing, right? And then, Bolt House was throwing parties. This is the Jenn and I sort of like lineage back in the Bolt House days. But
this is Jenn naked days.
Well, no, so by the way, never saw Jenn naked, but we had a lot of fun because Brent knew how to throw a party. This was a different time. This was a different city. And but it also wasn't just about the party. This was like when it was a networking thing. So I found a way, and Jenn, because I found a way to get out there and to just mix with people, other creatives. It wasn't as reckless as it is today, or even like 10 years or 15 years ago. You sat down, you had a nice dinner, you moved from table to table, you catch up with people, you would talk shop, but you would keep it cool. It was like family. We had we had families. We had 200 people, international people in a family that was like a rotating sort of group of 200. So I was able to figure out the balance of the schedule, where I would share the schedule with my co-parent at the time. My boy's raised now, he's 28. So, co-parent. Yeah. So I don't know. I figured it out. My focus was on like my auditions, like going to like Brent Bolthouse's stuff and then being able to like memorize material, stay focused, wake up the next day, go to an appointment and audition something was the focus. And then, the balance of also being a single father. So it was really hard. It was hard.
Wait, I gotta say, so you were doing that and I was going to the Brent Bolthouse's thing, networking, getting wasted. And then I'd never show up to a job or, and they were waiting for me or like an audition for
you blew some great opportunities.
But that's what I'm saying is like the difference between, someone focused and someone that knows. And it's not even getting caught up. I wasn't even caught up. It wasn't like, oh, I'm trying to be. It's like you are, and it's a family. Like I try to tell Tim, Sarah Pantera was having a game night, and I'm like, game nights used to be like, Justin Timberlake, Jessica Biel, Chris Evans. I mean, like you name it, but like we'd all be a family having a great time. Or Serene, Bean, I call her Bean, but like that whole family mentality, it was a family. So they weren't trying, like, and none of them knew I used. That was the whole thing, right? That I wasn't using.
I want to stop you in that family atmosphere. Bo, where we are at today, how has the atmosphere changed from when you and Jenn were growing up in the industry to now? You can't go to things with 200 people and go table to table. How are things now versus back then?
I mean, I've really made an effort to not be part of that scene. So half of me, my response is I have no idea, but it's alarming to me. To me, it's so foreign because I can just see it in my peripherals at a safe distance, how different, how impersonal, how take mentality it is, how on the surface it is. And that's not to naysay this next generation. I mean, it's not anybody's fault, but I think there's just an oversaturation of information and accessibility to the information. And people are so outside of their bodies. They're not centered. They're just on the surface. And most of them are here with a device. And by the way, I'm as guilty, but I know how to balance the two because I contrast. I knew what it was like not to have a device in my hand. So I've made a real effort to balance, device versus no device, paying attention, real connection. I don't know, man. I'm worried. I'm worried about the social interaction in nightlife, but in life, which is why it drives my purpose to this point, to be able to connect in a meaningful way, to really practice and then apply the art of human connection.
Yeah, I like that. I wanted to ask you two questions. One in the beginning I wanted to ask you, but then we started talking about other things, is that what made you want to come to LA? I mean, from Northern California, like, were you like, when did you know
you said,
that
I'm
was
going to act? This is what I want to do.
I mean, you did grow up in a...
Listen, so I grew up in the 80s, so I was a teenager in the 80s. I thought that was the best time, and it was exciting to watch TV and see, all these people that I thought were cool, like either making a movie or on a TV show. For me, LA was where Johnny Depp was doing 21 Jump Street.
Yeah.
Actually, they were shooting in Vancouver. But here's the thing. So I knew Johnny Depp's publicist, my friend still, Jeff Ballard. I don't know if you know Jeff, but Jeff's publicist, been around for long time. And Jeff was like my first LA contact. And when I was modeling, by the way, when I was doing catalog work, before I was an actor in San Francisco doing catalog work, when I was 13, 14, 15, 16, way back. I know. So surprise. Jeff kind of discovered me and then got in touch with me and invited me to come down. I came down, had a look at LA, and he's like, when you get here, if you get here, I'll help you out. I'll be your mentor. Just ask. So I knew that, like, if I wanted to do some acting, get away from the modeling, that LA was the place. And, for me, it was as much as my roots are in Northern California, like opportunity and excitement and adventure, and the gypsy in me, the artist in me was like, all right, I'm loading up the car. I'm heading to LA because that's where I'm going to find myself.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the first couple gigs you landed?
Yeah. So probably the first job I got was Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Another one.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Our boy, Christian.
I love it. Wait, you're 17.
He's come a long way.
Yeah, I know. I'm so happy. I'm so happy for him. So 17, 18, you get pump up 17 years old?
17 years old, I got that film and worked on it for a month. But the cast was massive. I mean, it was a huge supporting cast, but, it was just like my first gig. It was my first, got hired to be in a movie. And
but wait,
cool.
You come to LA and then all of a sudden you get your first movie right away. You got all the success in your teenage years. This is crazy. I didn't know that part.
Yeah. So basically the way the success kind of happened was because I was always a people person, and I met David Faustino, Bud Bundy, and Married with Children. Met him through my friend Rainbow Borden, who is one of my longtime friends. And Rainbow knew everybody. He was a kid. He grew up with everybody, and he wasn't famous, but he knew everybody that was famous then, all the TV kids, right? Balt Getty, another guy who's so proud of him. He's alive. He's doing great.
He's doing great too.
Doing so good. But yeah, so Baltazar and Soleil Moonfry.
I love her.
Yeah, you name it. Just the whole Corky Nemec, the crew, and Brian Austin Green. And so these were my buddies, in the first couple months of moving here, because of Rainbow Borden. I became friends with all these working young actors. And then that kind of got me in the mix and showed me what it looks like from the inside out. And then from there, I was able to kind of read the situation, see where my time was best spent, see where it was a waste of time. And so that allowed me to kind of find the opportunities quicker and then make something out of those. I showed up for those opportunities initially, booked a couple spots, got the Pump Up the Volume thing, Married with Children, a couple other things I can't remember, it was so long ago, right? But and then Point Break was kind of the big turning point.
So Point Break, I mean, how do you remember how many auditions you had to do, or were you, hey, we want you, you're a shoo-in? How did that operate?
I love this story because it was one audition. It wasn't even my audition. It was my friend Brian Austin Green from 90210. It was his audition. He basically was one of my best friends, part of that crew I just mentioned. He has an audition. He says, hey, Bo, you're a surfer. This is a guy who's a surfer. I guess they rob banks. Will you warm me up for the audition? Drive my car. I'll sit shotgun and we'll read lines together. I've got this thing at the end of the day. I said, all right, cool. Yeah. So, he gives me the sides. I'm one-handed reading the sides, driving to the Lantana Center on the west side of LA, end of the day. We get him there. I've got all this dialogue memorized because I'm a surfer. I know the lexicon of surfing and, some kind of feeding off of Brian and saying, nah, you wouldn't say it this way, man, because, a surfer would only do it like this, whatever it was. So we get there, he goes into his audition. I'm sitting in the waiting room. I've got a flannel, a beanie, long scraggly hair. I kind of look like the Northern California Santa Cruz surf kid because I kind of am that guy at the time. And he comes out and he's biting his fingernails. I could tell if something went wrong. It wasn't a great audition. He's holding the paper. I could tell he wasn't memorized. He wasn't focused. And I love Brian. So then I tell the story often. So he walks out. He goes, let's go. And before I can stand up, the casting director, Rick Pagano, comes out and says, are you next? And I said, no. And he goes, are you an actor? I said, yeah. He goes, you're next.
Oh my God.
So I had Brian's car keys in my pocket and I stood up and I walked right past Brian, and Brian goes, no, man, you can't do that. And I just ignored him, went right into the audition room, had it memorized because I had been warming him up. And he goes, okay, let me hand you the sides. Rick Pagano says, here's the sides. I go, no, I think I got it. And he goes, you got it? I go, yeah, I think I got it. So I stand on a chair and it's the campfire scene, if you remember, and it's dialogues like, drop down the pit, man, it's 25 feet straight down. Balls, man, your balls are about this big, and the whole thing's fucking roaring, right? Pushing you forward like you're a hood on a freight train or something, man. It was that scene. And I did it just improvised, but pretty much on book. He goes, hold on a second. He leaves the room. About 30 seconds later, he comes back with Kathryn Bigelow, who is the director.
Wow.
He goes, do that again. I did it again. She goes, you're hired.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
Unbelievable. So
yeah,
that's how you get it.
That is so
you actually
crazy.
Get to surf. How many skydives did you end up doing?
So the very next day, the whole thing happens like within 24 hours, right? So I walk out of the room, Brian's pissed off because I went in there and I go, I got it. Because he didn't get it. Any guy said, I got it. So the whole car ride, he's like, dude, I can't believe you did that. I get home and there's a bunch of my voicemail, because this is before cell phones are loaded up with messages from my agent saying, what's going on? We didn't set this up for you. How did you get this? You have to start tomorrow, 6 a.m. So I show up for a table read at 6 a.m. I do the table read, Swayze, Keanu, Lori Petty, Gary, the whole crew, everyone's there, right? Do the table read. We go from the table read to the beach. We do a surf bond thing with the whole cast. At the end of the surf thing, we go to this guy's house, Dennis Jarvis, who's doing the surf consulting. And Swayze comes up to me and he goes, I want you to watch something. This is going to answer your questionnaire. Puts in like a VHS cassette tape, and it's him jumping out of airplanes. So it's me, John Philbin, James LeGros, and Swayze sitting in this room in Manhattan Beach watching Swayze tell us, okay, I did this. I'm going to pay for all you guys to get certified, and we're all going to jump. I'm going to hire our own crew. We're going to shoot the whole sequence, and then we're going to tell the studio, 20th Century Fox, and then they're going to use the footage.
How fucking epic.
Wow.
Man, that, because I've got over 500 skydives. So I'm an avid skydiver, and that was one of the first big movies out that had badass skydiving scenes in it. But for you to tell the story that fucking Patrick Swayze said, this is what we're doing, I'm going to pay for it, we're all going to get licensed, we're going to shoot it, then we'll let the studio know and they can use the footage. That's just genius.
It's incredible. And it wasn't a question. He goes, this is what we're going to do. And this was less than 24 hours after I hijacked Brian Austin Green's audition.
Wow.
He's telling me, I'm putting you in an airplane. So basically we did a bunch of certification, a bunch of jumps. Then he showed the studio. If you remember the sequence where Swayze's hanging from the thing and he says, adios, amigo, and he kind of does that little.
Yeah.
So that was part of the stuff that he showed us. They ended up keeping that in the movie because Swayze was adamant, like, this has got to be the shot. And they did hire a stunt team to come in and do a lot of like the speed star sequences where they group hands and stuff. But they got as much of the stuff that we needed, and we just jumped for probably 8 months. Just kept jumping, kept filming, kept jumping. Incredible.
Were you jumping at Paris?
Paris.
Yeah.
Paris Valley.
Awesome.
I mean, if destiny couldn't have spoken more loud, like God, like universe speak loud, more loud to you. Like you come out here, you get, these jobs, right? And then you get this one and the way it came about. Like that is a remarkable and amazing
he's
story.
In there with,
it makes me wow. It's just a wow moment.
But you got to work with Swayze, Keanu Reeves.
Okay, Kathryn Bigelow, by the way,
Kathryn Bigelow.
She won an Oscar for Zero Dark 30. I mean, like, just phenomenal.
Well, I always like
incredible.
I like Swayze because he was a competitive water skier, and as I was. What was your relationship after the movie with Swayze? Did you guys stay friends? And
my brother, since the day I met him, on that very day that I met him, where I told you put the VHS cassette tape in. First of all, my first observation of him was I was sitting the next morning after the audition, waiting for the table read. Everyone's in the room. Swayze comes in last, comes in barefoot, in character. He's Bodie in character, barefoot, puts his feet up on the table and starts clipping his toenails. This is my first observation, first impression of Swayze.
Wow.
Doesn't give a, just going for it. He knows his value at this point. Ghost is in theaters. It's the biggest movie in the world at the time. Right? So it's like this, everyone's out there watching his movie. He knows his value and he's very competitive, so he's sort of challenging people to kind of like find their place around the table in a way, to your point. So Swayze, flash forward, end of life. My brother, till the end, I spoke with him weeks before he passed. He put me on a very short list of people that he wanted at his memorial service. Very special combination of people. I felt very grateful, very humble. Mentored me for 20 years as a friend, as a big brother. But during the filming of that movie, he would call me probably every couple days after we would film, and we would talk about the scenes that we were going to do the next day. He would always ask me, how do you feel about the scene? How can we make it better? What would you say in this scene? And he would honor that. And so we would do all these beautiful collaborative revisions and things. We'd bring them to Kathryn Bigelow in the morning, and usually Kathryn would say, no, the script's locked, and Swayze would say, no, this is what we're doing.
Wow. Well,
and it ended up in the film, and I think Kathryn, it won Kathryn over, because Kathryn was she was stubborn in a way, but to a good point, and then she would find a way to open up her opinion about it, and then we'd find common ground, and then we record it, which is why the movie's so classic and iconic.
I mean, till this day, I mean, I know Tim refers to it a lot, but everybody I know refers to it. I mean, they'll still give me lines from it. It's amazing.
There's a couple.
Yeah.
I mean, Blow is one, and I'm not saying that because you're in it. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Caddyshack, Ferris Bueller, Home Alone, Point Break.
Yeah. There's classics. I mean, it falls into the category of classics.
Risky Business.
But Teddy, just going back to Teddy, another one close to the heart that we lost, but to substance, but we love Teddy, and you were in that film. Wonderful. You're always magnificent in front of that camera. You are.
I love you.
We need to get her back in front of the camera.
I agree.
I took time off because I was in the trenches, and then I decided I want to get back into it. And I'm always like, as long as I'm a part of a collaboration, I'm cool. Like, I don't need to be like, blah, blah, blah. I just want to collaborate. And I started missing it. And I told Tim, he's like, well, then, start acting. And I got 3 movies.
Hold on, why do you always do that voice?
You're like a dude.
You make it sound like I'm Dumbo the Doofus.
You're like, go do it, basically.
Every time she goes, we'll do it. It's like I said, no, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, so I get 3 movies and a pilot, and then the pandemic happened. And now I'm like, I think I'm close to like doing it again. I really love to collaborate. I really do.
I wish it would have happened too, because I went on this meeting with Jenn, and we meet with the directors and producers for 5 hours, and she gets this and she gets this. And then they call her about a TV pilot. And can she play this role? Now, out of the kindness of my wife's heart, she's talking to the producer and says, hey, there's going to be a bar scene. Can Tim play a drunk at the bar? He said, absolutely. We'll throw Tim in there. We're doing an intervention with the childhood actor. We're at LAX trying to get him to leave his girlfriend to get on the escalator to fly to Florida. And Jen's phone is blowing up. So she takes a call, and they say, oh, hey, Jenn, we just want to congratulate you, but we also want to congratulate Tim because we gave him the lead role.
Yeah, he's the villain.
So I'm going to have the lead role in this pilot, studying all the lines. We fly from Houston to LA on Tuesday, and that Thursday, Hollywood shut down due to COVID, and everything's been dead since. And I'm like, because Jen's agent's my agent now, and and a few people said, well, why don't you try to act, Tim? I'm like, I don't know anything about it, but I could play some of these simple things. So in the future, maybe I should take some classes, or we should talk.
Yeah, listen, man, I love that idea. Like anybody can paint the moment with beautiful truth.
Yep. Ooh,
I love that.
I'm gonna steal that.
That is
I'm
really
stealing.
beautiful.
That's gonna be my thought for the day post tomorrow.
That is beautiful.
That's awesome. You should write a book on quotes.
I love what you say about that.
Thank
because
you.
For me, like being in the modeling world, I remember when I started studying with Sharon Chatton, and I was doing method. And I remember like, I was trying to do all the stuff in the beginning, right? I studied with her. I ended up studying with her for like 9-10 years, like nonstop. And I remember her looking at me, and she's like, so I need to break you down. I'm going to break you down because all you do is pose, basically. She's like, I don't feel a feeling, like you're just giving me what I want. You think I want to know. She goes, I want to recreate you. I want to rebirth you into your true self. And I use that metaphor because I learned so much in those classes, from finding my voice to becoming character, like all morphing into all these different things and all that. But I learned my true, like pulling from my experiences and how I can have a moment by doing that. I can create with others. I can stop and listen and then react, or, all these wonderful things. And I applied that stuff into my recovery. I remember my sponsor at one time said, I need you to find your voice. I don't care how you do it, but find your voice. Like, because I couldn't say, no, I don't know, help. And that's inappropriate in my recovery world and in my program. And in the program at the time, I couldn't say those things. So she's like, just do it. And I remember I got in the car and I just drove for hours back and forth. And I would do a song, and I would just find that that vibration of that. And here is my voice right now. And I know it's so interesting to be able to become something, but I was told, and I felt that I could never do that. And so that quote you just said allowed me to go, like, I guess it was always in me, you know, and it is always in someone, but they need to find it.
It is. So the deep, meaningful connection lives in each of us, right? All roads lead to love, and usually the heart is broken. So what we have to do is sort of explore the deepest, meaningful connection to who we are, what we want, how we feel, and how we feel about the people who support us and the people maybe who don't support us. It's always a wonderful thing to get to know our emotional self related to that, so we can put our emotional self into the work. So I'm always looking to coach people, whether it's art or life, from the inside out. I never want to teach people how to pretend from the outside and play, you know, the outline of a character, but I really want you to find out who you are.
Yeah.
What you want, how you feel.
When people reach out to you, and we'll, towards the end of the show, we'll talk about your coaching and what you do, but what makes someone a good actor or a good actress? Is it vulnerability? What is it? I'm asking you. I mean,
vulnerability.
Yeah,
vulnerability, I think, is and love is the most powerful currency, I think, of all, right? I mean, I heard Jim Carrey say that, and I love hearing that. Love is the most valuable currency there is. I mean, so when you're in your truth, you know, in your vulnerability, whatever it is, whether it's pain, you know, anger, sad, joy, love, you know, whatever it is, there's a wide range of emotional landscapes. I think when you're in your vulnerable core truth, it allows you to step at the edge of that opportunity and lean into the way that feels, catch that beautiful life wind and fly. And so for me, I think when you can find out who you are at your heart's core, you can lean into the way that feels, and that's the strength right there. Because when you feel it, your audience starts to feel it, right? Yeah. If I'm connected and we connect and we tap that frequency, then now we're truly listening and responding, and we're acting on the impulse of the way that feels.
So the way
vulnerability is the key.
The way vulnerability is the key. The way you explain that is genius, but the way I translate it in my mind is speaking. And obviously Jennifer and I speak professionally, and we've seen a number of speakers, but when you see a person that can get on stage and can hook that audience and keep them for an hour and a half keynote, make them laugh and cry, whatever, that person could be a great actor or actress. Because then you get a lot of people, because you get people that are telling a story, and like when Jenn gets up to speak and she's going through 14 to 18 in her journey, in an hour presentation, she'll have me crying 5 times. And because it's so true and passionate. So good. I want to act. We'll talk offline because I'm going to be the next actor.
Well, let me, I'm in. I'm totally sold. Listen, the best actors in my view are reactors. Okay, reactors, to the point you're making, they are truly present and they are connected to what they see and feel while listening and responding. So it comes from a feeling to the thought, to the word, to the action. So feelings to thoughts, to words, to action.
The way he explains. I love the way.
Amazing. He's incredible.
Bo, I love the way, I can see why you're a great coach and mentor. And that's one thing I wanted to say, because my ADHD, about Patrick Swayze, that you guys were buds for 20 plus years, friends, brothers, actors together. He mentored you. But the cool thing is you do the same thing now, and you give it back tenfold. And I'm so blessed that you had 20 whatever years to spend with a man like that, because you're sharing the gift as well and carrying the message to other people. And you had a great mentor and a friend.
Giving and receiving is the key to this whole thing. It's very quantum, I believe. You know, I think it's vibrational. You talked about this. It's quantum. Energy is life, right? So we have to keep the energy flowing in the forward feel in order to stay connected and to tap that resource to its purpose.
Yeah.
Man, badass.
He's amazing.
That's
He's
amazing.
incredible. I mean, and it's like you're not like this just for coaching or
No,
acting. You're
no.
like this in all
In real life.
your life. Like the
Yeah.
360 of you, you know?
It was like
Yeah.
the clip you had on Instagram of you driving through the car wash and talking like you were in Point Break. It was hilarious. His surfing and the tubes, but you constantly got people laughing. I mean, and you make me touch my emotions and feel them, and pain's pain, happy's happy, sad, sad. Jenny always says that, but that's what life is, but it's about love and giving back. You've worked with some badass people over your career. Who's one or two of the people that you like? I wish I could work with them again, or they're just. Jen said she was going to ask it, but I'm going.
You took, and I did tell you that
you didn't.
earlier.
Stay in your lane. She always tries to take credit. Think of something else. Answer the question, sir.
So I heard the intro. So it's Mahershala.
Okay. Thank you.
Mahershala Ali. He is the most interesting. Listen, I've worked with some incredible actors, male, female, and otherwise. Mahershala is he's a very special human being. Everyone that I admire who's worked with Mahershala has the same thing to say. He's a special human being. So Mahershala, I think, is probably on the top of that list.
Why is he special?
He's special because he is a spiritual being, and he is so giving and so mutually respectful and humble. He was the star of True Detective season 3. So when I came on the show as a recurring guest star, he made me feel like it was my series.
Wow.
I mean, he was so well. He diffused any of the anxiety bombs that actors have when you guest on a show and you have to show up. It was like, okay, it's True Detective, superior writing, high stakes. Not everyone gets this opportunity. You know, really well written, the best of the best, from cast to crew, above and below the line. They're flying me out to do this recurring arc on the thing. It's a limited series, 8 episodes. People are going to be watching this thing. And, you know, you get out there and it's like, before you meet the guy, you're thinking, oh, you know, is he going to like me? Is he not going to? Try to stay out of your head. You try to stay focused on the task and being present in the moment, the whole thing, life, art. But he's the kind of guy that just diffused it right off the bat with a big smile, and his kindred positive aura and energy just connects to you and embraces you and says, this is going to be great. We're so happy you're here. Like you're thank you for being here, kind of thing. And then awesome. The experience is just incredible. And he sits with you and talks to you and makes sure you're comfortable and the whole thing. Just a beautiful human being. So certainly Mahershala. And then, you mentioned a couple greats. Listen, Keanu is still one of my closest and dearest friends. Keanu Reeves is everything that you think Keanu Reeves is. And Jen, I'm sure you know Keanu.
I do. I know.
Yeah. Keanu is probably the guy. I mean, he is a big brother to me. He is a big brother. We still communicate. I talked to him through the whole pandemic. He's so busy, but he gets to you. He makes himself available, and he is there for you if he can be, and if you need him to be. But he's certainly just your friend and cares. And he's such a special guy. He nurtured me in a different way through the Point Break experience, because it was his first co-lead in a big studio film where they put him opposite a big movie star like Swayze at the time. So he was going through a big transition in his life with his career. He wasn't sure if he liked it or not, like being in a big, studio movie. And the balance to that for him was me. Wow. He got to hang out with me, and like he got to bend my ear a little bit. I got to listen to him and share some things, and we got to hang out, and like it created this contrast where, as much as I loved it as a mentor, he kind of needed somebody who was kind of closer to his age and he felt connected to, and it was great. We're still good friends, and I love that guy. But I've worked with so many wonderful people. I'm so grateful and so lucky to have the list goes on and on. But those are
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken.
He hates me.
Does he?
He hates me. Well, I don't think he thinks anything about me now. But when I first met him, I'll give you a quick Chris Walken story, because Chris Walken's like this enigma. I got hired for one day on a movie. Tucker Tooley, Tucker?
Yeah. My God, I know Tucker really well from back in the day. Yeah. Who's a ginormous
big producer.
Big deal now. Big deal
big
now.
big deal.
I know Tucker very well.
Tucker earned it. Yeah, totally. So Tucker put me in. I knew Allison Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's daughter. So they got in a jam on this one movie called Pool Hall Junkies that Mars Callahan. I don't know if you know Mars. Mars was.
I do know. Yes. Wow, you're bringing back names.
I know, battled addiction, but he was directing this movie. So he wrote and directed this, and they needed a female lead. They needed it like in a day. So I set up a dinner with Allison Eastwood and Tucker and they put Allison in the movie. And in doing so, it put me in the movie for one day. They flew me out to Salt Lake City, I think, and they put me in the scene with Allison Eastwood and Chris Walken and Mars. And Chris Walken doesn't meet me at all. He's upstairs on his first position. He has to walk down a flight of stairs and then deal with me. And I play a drunk. I play this overly intoxicated guy who works in the office that Allison Eastwood character works at. And I'm making moves to her and saying all the wrong things. And I think I'm slick and the whole thing. And he comes down and, he's got to kind of brush me off. We get a little scuffle and he knocks me out. That's the nature of the scene. So he comes down and they decide to shoot it without rehearsing it. So I'm doing the full Three Stooges thing, kind of like, I can't find anything while I'm talking to her. I'm doing all this stuff. It's kind of like probably overacting, but I thought it was great because they go big with the guy, just really play the guy drunk, like he's a nuisance. So Chris Walken comes down and he just hates it. He goes, cut. This guy's comedy acting. He's trying to upstage me. Like he thought I was trying to upstage steal the scene. And he's talking about me like I'm not there. It's, instead of saying, hey, maybe take it down, let's meet halfway on the energy or whatever, he's just like, get this guy out of here, kind of thing. So he goes back to his first position and I take it up a notch. I don't take it down. I start touching him. I start doing all kinds of touching his hair and like in the scene while the camera, I want to, because now I'm tapping into something real, his annoyance. And so if you watch the scene, he ends up really kind of like bitch slapping me in the scene. But then at the end of the day, because I was only on for one day, I said to Mars and Tucker, can I get a picture with Chris? Can you set that up? I knew he hated me. And Walken's like, no, he can't have a picture with me. But then I stood next to him, put my arm around him, and I kind of forced him to take a picture. So I've got this great Polaroid of me and Chris Walken with his face just so pissed that I snuck in this selfie with him. And it's like, you can tell on his face, he's like, I hate you. I don't want to take this picture. It's great.
That's hilarious.
I love that.
You should take that picture and put it on Twitter and tag him and say, just thinking of you. Do you miss me?
still hate me? Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's interesting how you were talking about working with Keanu Reeves too. And at the time he was fearful of working side by side with Swayze, and look at how his career.
But he's more of an introvert, private person.
Yeah, but people just don't know too. And then you see some people that you thought were huge and they disappear. You've been doing this for 30 years and you're still working. How did it affect? Did everything that you were doing get shut down during COVID? Obviously, you were still doing your training, right, and coaching?
Yeah, so my in-person training went to online, so I didn't miss a beat. I think I missed 2 weeks. I got really lucky. I saw it. I didn't see COVID coming, but I saw the Zoom thing because I was just like following people, and I kept saying, what's a Zoom thing that everyone's like, on or whatever. And then I just got on it, enrolled my whole class without losing my clientele onto Zoom, and then took it worldwide over 6 months. So literally I went from 1 to 2 days a week with some private sessions here and there as a coach pre-COVID to working 7 days a week, AM and PM worldwide, and doing privates. So my coaching business increased exponentially online. So that was great. Auditions stopped for a while and then came back about probably 8 months into COVID, self-tapes and stuff. And then I was able to book NCIS off of a self-tape during COVID and get back when they first started coming back with the initial phase of productions. And so I did like a guest star thing. And so that was good. And then I've been auditioning like crazy. So in a weird way, I've had more auditions because of the COVID situation has forced casting directors basically to request self-tapes from actors. It's easier for them not to have to schedule and see people, so they can get more requests out there to self-tape, see more actors. So I've gotten more auditions. And on top of that, it's helped grow my business. So these are the silver linings out of it. But there's nothing beats the in-person connection. I mean, we can all attest to that. So I'm hoping to get back to that like in September. I'm kind of busy. I would do it sooner. I'm busy doing some other things right now.
How did it impact you personally? Like, did you go through depression or anxiety, uncomfortability?
Yeah, all of it. I mean, how could it not, right? It's one of those things that, wow. It's been 17, 18 months now, whatever it's been, I can't believe it's been that long because it feels like just, it was yesterday, but yeah, it hit me hard because I have kids. I was going through divorce. I had met a gal. I was living with that gal in a new relationship that had an unresolved divorce. So I was working towards getting a divorce, in a lockdown, wasn't able to see my kids who lived with my ex-wife co-parent, and trying to create a balance of just maintaining, this lockdown phase with not being able to get to the store as much or out as much, coach as much, see my kids, resolve a divorce, nurture a new relationship that requires more than being in a lockdown. So all of the things that you can imagine that we've all gone through, I went through it. And I think what was the saving grace for me, Jenn, was coaching.
Purpose and connection. You had your purpose and connection.
Yeah.
And I think it's easier said than done, but for me, when I can connect with people and not teach them how to pretend, but to coach each person to their true potential, it allows that person to find their purpose and connection. So even though I was fortunate to be able to have that as my, my outlet, because a lot of people would say, well, we're not coaches, we're not actors, we can't connect or relate to what you're saying. I think it's so important to figure out, what that purpose is, even if it's not rock solid. There's a sense of direction where the heart wants to pull you in that direction and explore that and find out about yourself along the way. Just going towards something gives you purpose. It allows you to wake up each day and work towards that goal. Doesn't mean it's problem solved, but it pulls you magnetically out of bed onto your 2 feet towards something, an objective, a meaningful objective, something worth living for. And I thought that's the thing that I need to focus on that's going to get me through this. And then in the midst of that, I'm going to discover other things along the way that will also help me. And I was able to do that.
Awesome.
You make me want to cry. I've almost cried like 3 times, trying to hold it back. And I can tell that you're getting a little bit emotionally stirred up here, which is a good thing. And like, that's the whole purpose of this. I feel that like people are like, oh, it's like, it's a sober thing, or it's a recovery thing, or it's just an acting thing, or it's a heart thing, whatever it is. I think that universally, if you take away the problems and you talk about these things that you're talking about, this is all what we're searching for. This is all what we need, to be healthy, to be present, to be even our deeper self,
to be vulnerable.
To be vulnerable and transparent behind that. On that note, I know that I need to ask this question, and you didn't fully ask it, so I get to ask it. Is that with every acting experience or every job or speaking, like we learn and we grow, and they've been so amazing in every stage of our lives. For you, what is your greatest experience, movie role or TV show wise? Which ones are the top 3 that you're like, holy shit?
Wow. Well, certainly Point Break. Point Break was, I was booked for 12 weeks. It turned into 9 months.
Yeah.
It kept shooting, extending it. So it was like, it became like a TV series. But the things that I learned about myself and through the mentorship of the people that I was working with in front of the camera and behind the camera, invaluable. So that was just like, I'm forever grateful to be part of that experience in so many different ways. We can do a whole episode on that experience. But that's at the top of the that is at the top of the list. I mean, we probably could.
That's what we'll do. That would be awesome.
Probably could. I don't see why he wouldn't want to do it. He's that guy. If he's got the time and he'll find the time, he'll be available for something meaningful like this.
That would be cool.
Yeah, 100%. So I think if I just jump to more recently, when I've sort of put myself back in this full-time pursuit of what my heart wants, which is to tell my story in front of the camera. That's just sort of my jam, right? That's my jam. That's where I love to be. I love to live in my vulnerability, and I love to sit in front of this camera and let it record all that beautiful truth. My relationship with camera is healthy. I've got this healthy interactive relationship with camera. It's my friend. It wants to listen to everything I have to say. It's the only relationship in my life that I can completely ignore, and it will hang on my every word, and it will always forgive me and be there to catch my fall. It's always there. So for me, my experience as a coach in the art form, in the space, my chosen space, my purpose is probably the most dear to me feather in my cap, because it gives me a platform to really authentically connect to myself and others in a way that maybe some acting jobs won't fully allow. You know, I can truly be myself and unapologetically live in the moment and find others where we can remove the ego, remove the judgment, remove the fear of the negative outcome, and just follow the heart, communicate with feelings.
So
and paint.
You just started that out saying, you know, your happy place is in front of the camera. That's what you say. You know, Jenn is most at peace in front of the camera.
I remember I was doing this interview, and I think it was The View or something, and the lady's like, "Where are you the safest at?" Without a hesitation, I responded, "In front of the camera." And they were like, "Oh my God, that's the loneliest place you could possibly say. Like, that's so lonely." And I was like, that's all I know. Like, is it weird that I can completely be my true self, like, and become or do anything I want in that? Because that's what I was trained since I was 13. Like, I can, as a model, I can go into an era, and I've studied, you know, books, read, and gone through museum, done everything I needed to do to understand the eras of modeling, you know, and this and that. So I could become that, you know. I'm safe there. I'm safe in acting or speaking, you know. I'm safe with another person. I mean, it's important to have that partner to feel safe with. But a lot of times, even in life, I'll say to Tim, we got to slow down. Like, it's because, you know, today, and I was taught by my mentor, is stop being a human doing and be a human being, you know, and stop being and be that spirit, like that spiritual being that you were talking, that Mahershala.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's a hard one. Mahershala.
But like, I feel that you're in that same space. You are a spiritual being. Like, you just, I mean, you speak
your
to
energy.
the heart.
It's
like,
it's your energy.
You know?
It's just your candor in the way you communicate. I mean, that's, I didn't expect this podcast to go this way, because you are a lot more in depth than I even thought. We absolutely got to have you back on.
Yeah.
Are you still doing classes and coaching, Bo? If people would like to work with you, how can they find you?
Yeah, no, I'm a full-time acting coach when I'm not in front of the camera working as an actor. So on my website, BoJesseChristopher.com, everything's there. Yeah, I appreciate that. What was I going to touch on? You said something that was really powerful. I mean, all the things that we've talked about are so powerful.
Hold on. Who said something powerful?
What?
Jenn or Tim?
Yeah. Well, you both did.
Bullshit. Who were you thinking?
No, you both were really good with connecting to this thing. It's, you know, there's a couple elements that I wanted to, but there's something very cathartic about the work that we all do, not just as acting coaches or actors, but, you know, as people who like to connect with people who care. This is kind of where it is. That energy I have is the energy you have because we care. I genuinely care. Like, I want to hold you in your most vulnerable moments because I care, because I can relate.
Right.
Because I also need to be held. Do you know what I mean? I also need to be heard, seen, and felt. So there's something very creatively cathartic about approaching coach work, supportive work, outreach work, connective work in a way that is felt. Because otherwise you don't feel seen or felt or heard right? And so there's this disconnect that happens. And I think that a lot of archaic therapy approach has been sort of that observation from the outside in. Don't get too close, you might get infected by that disease.
Right.
So I think we have to get inside the work where we know the vulnerability is, because we can identify and relate to it because we're human, and most people can understand that. And I think that's the way to create the connection that allows someone to trust and be as vulnerable so they can find that voice and speak from that feeling to the thought, to the word, to the action of proaction of getting out there and going forward, leaning into the way that feels in a meanful way that allows them to grow.
Absolutely.
Live.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Powerful.
That needed to be said. Yeah, because the work that you guys are doing is so important. It is so important, because it helped save you in your own ways.
Yep.
Same thing for me in my own way. I didn't necessarily have to be in recovery, but I can relate and identify in my own unique way. And I used to coach people in recovery and call it creative therapy, only because it was a way for people in recovery to connect to a creative way to get to know their emotional self, not be judged, but to be listened to be seen, to be felt, to be heard, and embrace the way that feels. And with emotional confidence, stand at the edge of that opportunity, jump off that edge, catch that beautiful life wind, and fly forward. Right?
Amen.
It's so beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I always say especially when we see so many people like in their disease, and then we help them get out, or we help them get assisted to getting out, or we see them when they walk in, and then we see them a few months later. I'm like, oh my God, but when we're in there, I'm like, these people do not see what we see through clear eyes, their potential,
Right.
their ability to just be, instead of feeling so worn down by their past, and the I always say the ghost, but not realizing that they've already experienced those things and they don't need to live in that shame, and pain.
We all get people to tap into their energies to bring out the best of them. That's what your skills do. That's what you're in the grand scheme of things. That's what we're doing.
We all have roles in their lives.
Yes.
Our roles are all different.
This is fascinating. And I still have all this paperwork on you. And I mean, Christ, we literally could sit here for 8 hours. And I don't think I touched on this, but your name, BoJesse, came from Bo Diddley and from Jesse James, the Outlaw, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So real quick, my dad, who was, musician to the bone, hippie, gypsy, rock and roll Don, moved from Memphis, Tennessee. He basically took my mom at age 17 from Indiana at one of his live shows. They got in a convertible something, drove to California in 1969. She got pregnant with BoJesse, and then when my mom gave birth in San Francisco, October 16th, 1970, my dad was playing a gig, and so wasn't even there. So he came in super late after, I was born, sitting on mom, and he was stoned and drunk, and it's 1970, right? And he's San Francisco, and he's sweaty, and he came from the gig, got to the hospital, found his wife and his new child, and he says, I got it. I got the name, and he's riding a buzz. He's on a good one, he just played a gig. And he goes, BoJesse, one word, capital J. It's Bo Diddley after Bo Diddley, the blues guitarist, and Jesse James, the cowboy outlaw. He's an outlaw with rhythm. BoJesse. All right, gotta go. And then he went back to the gig and left my mom.
Oh my God,
I love
that's
it.
Amazing.
The outlaw with rhythm. The outlaw with rhythm.
That is incredible.
Bo, we got to thank you for coming on the show. We're out of time. Will you come back on? Absolutely. Good. And we need to get that dinner or lunch that we've been talking about for 8 months. Let's get together and do that. Year and a half. I was trying to give them credit there. We want to thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for everything.
Oh
yeah, absolutely. And
thank you for your beautiful words, though. We really needed to hear that today.
Thank you for allowing. Yeah, I appreciate that, because, without this platform, it's one of those things that we keep that internal. That's like inner monologue, right? That's the thing that fuels us every day. But it takes community, and you guys are providing that, and I love that. We are connecting and sharing that stuff, and hopefully anybody that's listening will connect to that and feel not alone and part of the community. So, you know, sending best intentions and positive energy to you folks and anyone out there who's listening and feeling what's happening right now.
Thank you.
If people want to get a hold of you, how do they go about it?
BoJesseChristopher.com.
BoJesseChristopher.com. We want to thank Lux Media. If you want to reach Jennifer and I, dope2hope.com, DOPETOHOPE.com. BoJesse, we want to thank you. We love you. For Jennifer, for Tim, for the Tim and Jen show. We'll talk to you next week. See you later.
We want to talk to you about Clean Cause, better caffeine. What's in the can? Our organic, sparkling Herba Mate is a premium pick-me-up that won't let you down. Every can of Clean Cause contains 160 milligrams of better caffeine, and each sip supports recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. 50% of the profits go to assist people into sober living. Check out cleancause.com.
Seaside Palm Beach is an executive luxury addiction treatment center located in Palm Beach, Florida. Our private clients come from all over the world, including business executives, professional athletes, celebrities, and more. Seaside Palm Beach offers first-class amenities and high-end accommodations, including a gourmet culinary experience, ocean views, pet-friendly facilities, and access to cell phones and laptops during your stay. If you or a loved one are struggling with addiction, please call us at 877-959-5053. Again, that number is 877-959-5053.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance. Cognitive function. Powerful liver support. Energy. Helps blood sugar regulation. Superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.